In this session, we will see DDL commands. In the last session, we have seen DML commands. In DML commands, we have seen how to select certain rows, how to get summary statistics like average of a column, sum of a column, how to do the joins. That's what we have seen, data manipulation language. Now we will see the data definition language. Both of them are SQL only, but this is a different set of commands that we are going to see. Database related commands we have already seen. How do you create a database? Create a database if it exists, if it does not exist, or drop a database. Those commands we are already aware of them, isn't it? Let us suppose if I want to create a new database, what will be the command? Create database. Let's say the database name that I want to give is products. Products is the database that I want to create. Then I execute this command. That will create a new database. It worked, but you cannot see the products until you do the refresh. If you do the refresh, products database is created. If you do not want that database, you simply say drop database, whatever is the database name, products database. This is the database that I want to drop. A drop means delete the database. When you execute that, products database is gone. You cannot see that now, doesn't it? That's how you create and drop databases. How do you create a table? How do you create a new table? Let's say sales is the database that you have. In that, you want to create a new table. How do you create that? Or you want to create a new database called products. Within that, you want to create a new table. How do you do that? Okay, let's create a new database called sales one. Create, because sales is already there. Let's not disturb it. Sales one, create database. Create database, sales one. That is a database that I have created. Okay. Now, once you create that database, if you want to do anything in that, you have to use you have to write this command, use that database. You have to tell MySQL that what is the database that you want to use. Okay, use database sales one. Okay, use sales, that means use sales database, but here we want to use sales one, by the way. So I will put sales one. So you see this highlighted in bold. That means that's the database in use right now, sales one. Now in that, if I want to create a table, let us define that table. Okay, to create a table, an empty table. So create table, give the table name. The table name is customers. I want to create a new table called customers. Let's define it one by one, column by column. You have to define it. Okay. First column is customer number. Customer number is the first column that I want to create, and it must be an integer. Integer. Okay. The second column is customer number. Let's put simple ones. Customer name. Now that must be a character. Okay. Customer name. You cannot give spaces in the column name, by the way. You can give underscore. Customer name, it has to be a character. So you can give var char. That is a character. You can give the length also, but as of now, I'll directly give var char. Okay. That is a character. That means a string. Phone number. Here, phone number also, I am taking it as var char. Why am I taking it as var char? Because maybe hyphens are allowed. Country. Country should be what? Integer or var char? It has to be var char. Character only. Character means string. Then what else? Age of the customer. It has to be varchar or integer. Float or double, it can be a number, integer. Then the last one, credit limit, customer credit limit. Customer credit limit, you can write integer or you can say double. Double is also another type of numerical value only, but it can take some decimal values as well. Okay. A float is decimal values, double is even bigger number with even decimal values it can take. Okay. You can also write integer also if you want to take it like an integer. This is the table that we want to create. Right now, there are no tables in sales one. Sales one doesn't have any tables. Now, if I execute this, it is throwing an error. Let us see that error and find out what is the issue. Customer name, varchar is what I have given. Now, within varchar, do we need to give the length as well? Varchar 50. Let me try that. Okay, looks like the length need to be given. So I have assumed that some default length will be taken. That seems to be not working. Okay. Usually in some other SQL tools, it will work, but let us see now. Now that is working. In sales one, if I refresh this now, in sales one, if I go to tables, customers, if I go to columns, customer number, customer name, phone number, country, age, credit limit. If I want to print what is there in that, I simply say select count star or select star, simply select star from customers. If I do like that, then I will get the output. Right now, the output, if you see the table output here, nothing is there in this table because that's a blank table that we have created. Now, how do you drop that table? Earlier, we have seen deleting a database. How do you drop the table? Simply write drop table name. So customers is the table that I want to drop. I don't want this table anymore. Then I can say drop table customers. That table will be dropped. Now that table is no more available here. This is dropping the table. The table will be totally lost. But what if I want to create a table? I have created this table. It worked. The table is available. But sometimes you, by dropping, what we mean to say is we want to keep the table definition. We want to keep an empty table. We want to delete the data only. There are two ways. One is dropping the table. The other one is dropping the data out of the table. If there is any data that I want to delete, but the blank table is something that I want to keep. Maybe later on I will use that table. I'll fill some more data inside the table. In that case, instead of using drop table, you can use truncate option. Truncate is an additional option. Drop table will totally wipe off that table, totally delete that table. But if you say truncate table, if you do that, table will be still present. If you say drop table, table will be gone. If you say truncate table, only the data inside that table will be gone. Here anyway in this table there is no data. So that this particular action will not return anything. But in general, if you have a table with data, if you want to drop only data, keep the empty table, use truncate. If you want to drop the whole table along with the data, use drop table. Okay. Now this is the table that you have created. What if I want to alter this table? What if I want to add one more field called email address? Customer email address also I want to add. I don't want to write all these commands once again. I can use a command called alter table. Alter table is very useful. Alter table. What is the table name that you want to write? Alter table customers. Okay. Now what do you want to do? Add email address. Varchar maybe 100, a little lengthier one. Okay, 100. So if you do this, what will happen is right now in the table customers, there is no column called email address. If I execute this now, I'm altering the table. I'm adding extra email address. It worked. If you refresh this, you can see email address has been added. Not only that, let us suppose if I want to delete a particular column, if I want to delete a particular column, if I want to drop a particular column, again, you can use alter table. Alter table is very useful. If you want to really do any modifications to the existing table, you can say alter table customers if you want to drop a particular column. Okay. So country is something that I'm not interested. Then what I can do is you can say drop column. Drop column is the keyword that you need to remember. And what is the column that you want to drop? Mention that. Drop column country. Execute that. Okay. Then if you refresh this, that particular column country will not be available. Okay. What if I want to modify a particular column? Right now, credit limit has been defined as double. What if I want to make it like an integer? Again, I don't need to redo the whole table definition. I simply say alter table. Alter table is used when you want to make those small modifications to the existing table. You want to drop few of the columns if you want to change the type of some of the columns. Right now, I want to take this credit limit. I want to make it like an integer. Right now, it is double. So alter table, then you say modify column. What is it? Modify column. And what is the column name? Credit limit. Let us take the column name as it is, credit limit. Previously that was double. So I will take that credit limit instead of double. I'll put it as integer. Credit limit is integer. Now, if I execute this now, previously that used to be credit limit used to be a double. Now it will be an integer. Is there a way to check that? Actually, there is a way to check that. Generally, it is not suggested, but you can go to this information about the table and then you can go to columns. Then you can check right now credit limit is an integer. Previously it was not, it was a different value. So you can go here customers table and then you can look at the information info and then click on the columns. Generally that is not suggested. Everything you have to fetch it using the code only. Okay, there are ways to get to know what type of column each one of them are, but if you want to do it in a quick manner, you can use SQL Workbench to quickly check that. Okay, that is how you can create the table, you can modify the table. There is an important concept in tables called constraints. What is a constraint? Constraint means condition. I want to give a constraint. I want to give a condition. SQL constraints are used to impose some rules on particular columns. I want to impose some rules. For example, a particular column should take only limited number of values. Age column, age cannot be negative value. Age cannot be more than 200. Age cannot be more than 100. I want to impose that condition. Or some columns, they cannot take null values. I want to put some not null condition. Some columns cannot take non-numeric values. Some columns cannot have missing values. I want to have some rules. Constraints are nothing but some of the specific rules on some of the columns. You want to limit the type of data. You want to give a constraint. You want to set the rule. That particular column cannot take everything. It has to take data from a particular set of rules that we have set. Those are known as constraint. One of the most common constraint is not null constraint. What does this not null constraint do? It means that a particular column cannot take null values. That means it cannot miss. Simple. This particular column, let us suppose if somebody is creating a table, this is the required field. That means this particular column cannot go null value. It has to be filled. Usually some of the important columns like customer number, customer ID, order ID, those values cannot be null. Product ID, they cannot be null. Okay. Not null means this particular column will not accept anything null. If somebody tries to give a null value, then this will throw an error. It enforces a field to always contain a value, which means that you cannot insert a new record or update a record without adding a value in this field. That is a constraint. How do you give that constraint? Once again, how do you give that constraint? You write create table customers, or here we will say alter table. Okay. Alter table customers, or let us look at it from the create table point of view. Let me recreate the table. First, I will drop that table totally. First, let me drop this table, drop table customers. That means totally deleting that table. Drop table customers will totally wipe off this table. And then what I'm saying is customer number. It is an integer, but it cannot be null, not null. If I give like this and if I execute this now, the table will be created. Quickly, what you can check, if you go to the I symbol, info symbol, if you go to this column, it says there is one constraint. Let us see where is that constraint given. Let us see whether there are any place, whether there's any place where we can see the constraint. Customer number is an integer, nullable. No, check this. Nullable, no. That means it cannot be a null value. That's what nullable, no means. It cannot be null value. Remaining ones, they can be null values. If you fill the customer number and remaining ones, even if you leave it as empty, that is fine. But it cannot take null value. That is the first constraint. There is one more constraint. In fact, there are several constraints. There is one more constraint called default. Default means, let us suppose by chance, if it is not available, by chance a particular value is not available, let us suppose country, if that is not available, then you can say default value. You can set default value. Let's say if somebody says country, I don't know the country, then instead of leaving it as null, instead of leaving it as blank, you can say default, default, F-A-U-L-T, default, and mention the default value. The default value is missing or NA. Or if the country is not available, let's say if this is USA data, USA, default value is USA, or default value is not available, you can mention the default value. So let us drop the customer table once again, and then let us create this. Now it got created. Let me refresh it. If I go to customers table, then let us see columns. Let us see default value is NA for country. Remember, you don't need to recreate the table again and again. Let's say if I want to make the default value of credit limit is $1,000, then I would say default and then 1,000, that is a number. Okay, enter. Now if I do this create table, okay, if I do this create table, what's happening? Sorry, this one we have to remove that. If I do this create table, I'll get an error. What will be the issue? Already table exists. Shall I drop it again? Not required. You can use the command alter table. Okay, you can use the command alter table and then modify the column. That can also be used. Let us try that. Okay, credit limit is default value. What is the default value of credit limit? Modify column credit limit. The default value that you want to take is how much? 1,000. 1,000 is a credit limit. Alter table customers. I'm interested in altering the table, and modify column credit limit. Default value is 1,000. Okay. What is the issue here? Let us see. What is the issue? Shall we execute and see? Default. That's correct. Check the manual and all the default 1,000. That is not working. This has to be this way. And now let us check. Let us check what is the issue. You can also do the verification. Let us see what is the issue here. Yeah. Let's do one thing. Instead of alter table, let us redefine the table. You can check the alter table one. Is some kind of syntax I'm missing. Let us check the country one. Okay. Modify column country to this one. Let us see whether this works or not. Okay. I think instead of modify directly, we need to give that. Is it modify column? Modify column. Now this is working. I think in a default for a numeric value, this is working. So the syntax is correct, but we need to check for default for a numeric value. Okay, maybe credit limit default is 1,000. Shall we give like that? If I give it in the quotes, then it will be treated as a character value, right? So let us try once more. Otherwise, we will check the syntax. So once again, we will do alter table. This time modify credit limit. That is not varchar, that is double or integer. That is integer with default value of 1000, number 1000. This should be working. Yes, it is working. How do we know default value is 1000, whether it is working or not? Just re-execute this. Go here, go to I, then go to columns. Then you can see credit limit default value is 1000. So I have given a default value. Default value is another constraint. Default is another constraint. Okay. Default value. Credit limit is double. Default is 500 here, but in the example we have seen as 1000. Okay. That is the default constraint example. You can use either create table or you can also use alter table. Okay. There are some other constraint as well. All of them work the same way. Either you can use alter table command or you can use directly while creating itself. Some of the constraints are not null is one of the constraints that we have seen. Unique. What does this constraint ensure? It ensures that all the values in a column are unique. They're all different. You cannot have the same customer ID repeating twice. You cannot have the same social security number repeating twice. You cannot have Aadhaar card for two customers. Can you have the same Aadhaar card number for two customers? Can you have the same PAN card number? No. In a table, if you're saying this contains all the distinct customers, they must have unique value. You can impose that constraint. There's one more thing called primary key. This is very important concept. Primary key. It is a constraint. It's a combination of not null and unique. There must be some columns that are called as primary keys. These are primary keys to this table. This is the primary column, most important column to this table. If you want to fetch any information from this table, you can give this primary key and get all the details from that table. Let us see what is that primary key, then foreign key, check, default, create index. There are several constraints, but primary key is an important one. Primary key constraint uniquely identify each record in a table. Some of the primary keys, very important primary keys are Aadhaar card number. If you have some loans data, Aadhaar card number or PAN card number, those are primary keys. Primary keys means they cannot be same for two customers. You cannot have the same Aadhaar card number. For two customers, you cannot have the same PAN card number. If you are assigning some fine to some vehicles, okay, if you're taking the data set of the vehicle number has to be the primary key. Mobile number has to be the primary key. Employee number, if you want to fetch all the details of an employee, for an employee, what is the name, which department he works in, etc., etc. If you want to get all the details of an employee, employee number is the primary key, isn't it? Primary key means that important key using which we can get all the data. If you are a student, what is the primary key? Your college want to fetch all the details related to you, your name, your courses that you are taking, what are your marks. If they want to fetch all the details, since you are a student, what is the primary key for a student in a college? Student ID, yes or no? For a student ID. If you go to any government office, if you want to fetch a particular detail, let's say if you want to apply for some certificate, then they will ask you for a primary key. What is your primary key? If you go to government office and then you want to get your details, what is the primary key that you have to provide in the government office? There is one primary key you must provide. What is it? Aadhaar card number. That you must provide, isn't it? Even if you go to a bank, one customer is related to one Aadhaar card number, isn't it? Primary keys are the most important keys. Giving that key, you can fetch all the related details. Okay. You can mention some of the keys as primary keys. That is known as primary key constraint. Let us create a new table. Like in our table, what can be the primary key? While I'm creating this particular table, I can give one of that as a primary key. Tell me what looks like a primary key. Primary key, you don't need to give not null. Not null plus unique together is primary key. So I would like to give customer number as the primary key. Okay. So customer number is the primary key. How do I give customer number as the primary key? What is the syntax for it? You simply say customer number, integer, you define it, and primary key separately you have to mention. You have to write at the end. Once you're done with all the definitions, you simply write primary key. My primary key out of all those columns, my primary key out of all those columns is customer number. Customer number is my primary key. If you mention like this, automatically it will be taking as primary key. Here I have to put a comma. Then first I'll drop the table customers, and then because otherwise if I execute this, it will throw an error, isn't it? Then I execute this. Okay. Customer number is the primary key. If I re-execute this, if I see the information related to this columns and customer number, nullable no, default value, etc., etc. Is there any place where it says this is a primary key? Let us see if I go to indexes, indexes primary. Primary key. What is a primary key? Look at this. Customer number is a primary key index. That means index means it is some value. MySQL have a smart way of accessing these values using this number. Otherwise, if I want to change that, okay, usually primary key, you can define it while you are defining the table. Let us suppose while I'm defining the table, I missed it. Using alter table also, I can do that. Okay. So I have dropped the table customers. Now I'm creating this table. One of the columns I want to make it as primary key. One of the columns. So how do I do that? I write alter table. This alter table is very useful because not every time you will be recreating the table like what I'm showing here, because already you have the data inside that. Alter table customers, and then there is a command called add primary key. Add primary key. Add primary key. What is the primary key? Customer number. Add primary key, customer number. That should be in parenthesis. If you put like this, then if I execute this, right now this table exists, but apparently there are no primary keys because I have re-executed without that. If I go to indexes, there is no primary key. However, if I re-execute, if I do the alter statement, if I now go here and then try to refresh this and then try to execute this columns, and then if I check the indexes, then it will be primary key. Using alter statement also, alter table statement. Usually alter table is the one that you will be using a lot in future. That is the primary key. Can I have a combination of two columns as primary keys? Yes, possible. Let's say by mistake I have created customer number as primary key. I want to drop that as the primary key. I don't want that to be primary key. Then you can use the same alter table command. You write alter table customers. You type that. Okay. And then I don't want to have that as customer number is right now primary key. I don't want customer number as primary key. If that is the case, you simply write, sorry, alter table, and then you simply write drop primary key. Drop primary key. Simply that. If you simply write drop primary key, automatically it will be dropped. Now there is no primary key here. Remember, there will be only one primary key for the table. For a given table, there will be only one ID that you can use it for searching, and you can use it for indexing, and you can use it for bringing the rest of the details. Right now, there is no primary key. You can have a combination of two columns as one primary key. Eventually, the primary key will be a single value only, but you can have a combination of two columns. For example, if I want to take customer number and phone number, customer number, phone number, a combination of them, both of them together. If I want to have primary key, then you say alter table customers. Right now, there is no primary key in customers. If I execute that, and then if I go to information, right now, there is no primary key. If I go to indexes, okay, there is no primary key. But if I take a combination of two columns, okay, add primary key, first column is customer number, comma, phone number. Both of them together, their combination has to be unique. That means customer number can repeat. Maybe phone number can repeat for customers, but customer number, phone number together, that has to be unique. That means customer one, customer ID one, and customer ID one. Two people can have the same customer ID, but their phone number has to be different. Okay. So both of them together will form the primary key here. So when I alter this table, let me refresh it. If I go here, now if I, in fact, I don't need to go and check every time there. There is something called indexes here. If I see the indexes, primary key is already available. Okay. Primary key, primary key. Let us see that in detail. If you want to see, then you can go to indexes, primary key, it's customer number, comma, phone together. Remember, primary key is a single entity only, but it can be a combination of two columns. Okay. That is the primary key concept. Okay. The concept of primary key is very important. You can create primary key directly or while using the alter table as well. Remember, once again, there will be only one primary key. A table can have only one primary key that can be added into a table. Yes, it can be a combination of two columns put together, but that is still counted as one primary key only. Okay. That is one of the constraint. There is one more constraint called unique constraint. What does unique constraint mean? A table, a particular column inside a table can take only unique values. Unique. Primary key is also kind of similar to unique, but there is a huge difference. What is the difference? Both unique and primary constraint provide guarantee for uniqueness, which means in a column there will be no differences. That means there will be no duplicates. But a primary key constraint, if you say primary key, automatically it assumes that everything has to be unique. But there is one important feature of primary key. For a table, there will be only one primary key. But When you go to a table, there can be multiple columns that are under constraint unique, unique, unique. You can say this column has to be unique. Email address has to be unique. Maybe phone number has to be unique. Like that, you can have 3, 4 columns that are under unique constraint. So you have to define primary key for a table, but unique is optional. If you feel that has to be unique, a particular column, then you can give unique constraint. So usually primary key and unique, they seem to be somewhat similar to each other, but for a table, there will be only one primary key, whereas multiple columns can have unique values. Okay. So let us give how to give this unique constraint. Let us see how to do that. Okay. So alter table once again, alter table, then unique, add unique. You write UNIQUE, unique, add unique, and whatever is the column that you want to have. Right now in my table, email address, was it dropped? Yes, it seems that it was dropped previously. Okay, so add unique. Let me take customer name as unique. Customer name. Actually, if you say primary key, customer number is part of primary key. That means since both of them together are forming the primary key, customer number can have duplicates. So you can say unique customer name, also unique phone number also. Or if you say unique customer name, if you execute that, it's working. Now, if you go to information and then check the columns, then you check where is that unique, where is it given? Let us see where we can find that. These two are primary keys. Customer name, nullable, yes, but where is that unique option? Where can we check whether it applied or not? Unique. Nowhere we can check that. Is it so? Is there any place where we can say whether this is unique? Previously, we have checked that in indexes. We have checked primary, and I think looks like customer name in indexes. It isn't coming as customer name, but nowhere it is mentioned as unique. You check this unique, okay? Key name and then nullable unique, okay? Is this the one unique? Somewhere it has to be mentioned. Let us check that customer name. That should work, isn't it? Let us see. Let me close this and let's reopen that. Let's refresh this and then reopen. Where is it given? Are there any unique IDs? Somewhere here it is giving as customer name, something extra, but exactly unique as such, it is not giving. Okay. This is DDL that is being generated for whatever we are doing. Okay. Customer name, default, not null, and all that. Yeah. Okay. That is the unique part. Okay. Unique means it cannot repeat. Okay. Or if you want to drop, let's say customer name, you feel that two customers can have same name, that is all right to have it, then you can say alter table customers. You don't want to have this constraint. So here indexes customer name is also appearing. Okay. Anyway, you don't want to have this customer name as one of the constraint. It can take non-unique values, which means two customers can have same values. Then unique is a kind of index. You drop index. Okay. Earlier it was add index, add unique. Now you dropping that index. Now from here that will vanish away. Okay, so I'm closing that. Let's close this and then try to alter table customers, then drop index customer name. So here the brackets are not required. So make a note of this syntax. Brackets are not required here. If I execute this, then it will work. Now if I refresh it in the indexes, there is no more unique. Okay. Index means it is a value that SQL keeps so that it can browse through it and give us the results quickly. Okay. It is possible that you can have multiple values or multiple columns with this unique option. So unique you can define while you are defining the table also. It's not always that you have to do alter table. Let's say when you're defining the table here itself, you want to define unique. You can write unique and whatever you want to keep it as unique. Let me also, yeah, I think here customer name, I want to keep it as unique. Okay. And as well as customer number, I want to keep it as unique. I want to keep the phone number as unique. These are the three that I want to keep as unique, unique, unique. I have dropped the table now. Now I'm creating this with these unique values. 3 indices will be formed. If I refresh this, if I go to customers, if I go to columns, if I go to indices, customer name, and then customer number, customer phone, these 3 are the unique values. Okay. Is this working, by the way? Customer name, let us check that. Okay. Let us see whether in indices. Okay. Customer name, customer name, customer name. The index name is the one, but these three are the unique values. Why is it taking index name is customer name, customer name, customer name? Because we are mentioning it here in one bracket unique customer name. Let's say if I remove this, let me drop that table once again. Now, if I re-execute this, refresh, and then if I go to indices, customer number, and then if I go here, customer, the way it is storing the index name is customer number, but it is actually taking these two values as the indices or unique. Okay, for us, whether how it is considering it as index doesn't matter. Is it a unique constraint or not? That means if somebody enters the same customer number again twice, then the table won't allow it. It'll throw an error. If somebody enters the same phone numbers twice, then we will not allow it. Basically, unique constraint forces that you must enter the unique value when you are entering the data. Then there is one more important concept called foreign key. Foreign key is another constraint. What is foreign key? In every table, there is a primary key, or most of the tables will have primary key, one important column. Sometimes two tables can be connected. This particular key can be connected to some, let's say there is one column here. Let's say in the one of the tables, you have one column, which is a primary key in some other column. Let us suppose you are taking salary details. In salary detail, the salary ID or something is the primary key. You are giving the salary to employees. Employee ID is here. The employee ID in this table is a primary key in some other table. Which table? In employee data details. In employee table, that's a primary key. For example, if you take orders table, in an order you have product one, in an order you have product two, in an order you have product three, in some other order again product one, product two. This is product code. This is not unique ID here. In orders table, order ID is unique. Okay, but this product code is a primary key in products table. In an order, you have customer one details, customer two details, customer three details, customer four details. This is not a primary key in order because order ID is primary key. But if you go to some other table, customers table, then this is a primary key in customers table. Primary key means important one where you can fetch the data. So if a key here is a primary key in some other table, that is known as foreign key. Foreign key is the connecting field between the tables. Foreign key is a field. It's a field or a collection of fields in one table that refers to primary key in other table. One column in this table, which is a primary key in some other table. Foreign key constraint is used to prevent actions that would break the links between the tables. This will help us in creating the links between the tables. Obviously, in the orders table, if you want to get the details from the product, you have to have that foreign key product ID. So what is a foreign key? Okay, a particular ID here or a particular column is actually a primary key somewhere else in employee table. And if you take orders table, if you take this orders table, employee number is one of the table. Order number is actually the primary key here in orders table. But if you see employee number, and this is a primary key in employees table. So in here, this is a foreign key. This is a primary key. This is a connecting key. How do you define a foreign key here? You have to give foreign key as one of the keyword. Okay. Let us see how do you define a foreign key. Okay. How do you define a foreign key constraint? Let me create a table. Right now, customers table is with us, right? In customers table, let us create a primary key, which is customer number. So let me alter the customer table. So right now I'm adding the primary key. Okay. Right now, this is the primary key. If I refresh this in customers table, primary key is customer number. Now I'm creating a new table called orders table. Create table orders. Okay. Now in this, very simple. Okay. I'm giving order number, which is a primary key for me. Order number is a primary key. It is integer, it cannot be not null and all that. Let me integer, not null. You can give lowercase values as well. Not null, not bull, not null. Okay. Order number and which employee has ordered it. Product code. That is another column. Okay. Which is a varchar, not null. Okay. Varchar. I'll not give not null and all that. I'll leave that as it is. Okay. Then employee number, or let me say customer number. Customers are the ones who are going to order it. Customer number is also another column here. Okay. It is also an integer and it is also not null. Okay. That is a table that I have created. Okay. Here, what is a primary key here? primary key. In this table, in orders table, what is the primary key? Tell me. In orders table, what is the primary key? In this table, orders. Primary key is order number. That is a primary key. And what is a foreign key? That means a number here, a column here happens to be a primary key in some customer's column. So the foreign key is F-O-R-E-I-G-N. F-O-R-E-I-G-N. Foreign key. Foreign key is, what is it? Customer number. And in which table that customer number is available? What is the reference? Reference. Reference. What is the reference or references? It references to references. Okay. It references to which table? Customers table. It references to customers table. It references to customers table. And what is the name of that column? Customer number only. Have you understood this? Check this once again. First, you create the table. You can mention your primary key. You can mention your primary key. My primary key is order number. Foreign key is customer number and references to customers table, which is the customer number. That is the foreign key. If you execute that now, this table is going to get created. If I refresh this and go to tables, there is one more table that is available, orders table. In that, if you go to indexes, primary key is there and customer number is another index, which happens to be the foreign key. Let us see whether that is available. Can we see that in foreign keys or columns or indexes? Primary key is this one and the customer number, foreign keys, or let me check, maybe in this table that will be given as a foreign key. No, indexes, customer number, sales one dot orders. Customer number is taking as index, but clearly where is it mentioned as the, it is taken as index customer number in this table. In orders table, customer number is taken as index customer number, but where exactly it is mentioning it as foreign key? That's what I'm searching. It should have mentioned here. Let me refresh this. No, but it is taken as index nonetheless. Let's go to foreign keys and check whether it is mentioned here or not. No, nothing in foreign keys. It is given as index only. Okay. But it worked. It did not throw us any error. Okay. It worked. So let's close this. This is the foreign key constraint. Let us suppose if you have right now in orders, we also have product code. If you have a different table called products, in that product code is the primary key, then we can say another foreign key is also here in this table, which is product code. It references to products and product code. Okay. Customers, customer number is the foreign key that is part of the customers table. Okay. That is the concept of foreign key. What is a foreign key? A key that is available, a column that is available in this table, which happens to be a reference to a primary key somewhere else, so that we can access all the information from there. These are some of the basic DDL commands. DDL stands for data definition language. Most often, you may not be really working on DDL commands. Mostly, you will be spending time on DML only, data manipulation, because data must have been defined by someone else automatically long time back. Data would have been generated already. Most of the times, database is available in the data. You'll be working on DML commands most of the times. But in some special cases, if you have to work on DDL commands as well, then you will be using these. Apart from this, there are some advanced commands as well. So in the upcoming sessions, we are going to discuss few more DDL commands, data definition, language related commands, a little bit of more constraints and all that, a little bit advanced ones in the second level. This is level 1 of DDL, what we have discussed. The upcoming sessions are DML level 2. DML, what is DML? Data manipulation language level 1 was done in the last session. The upcoming sessions are DML level 2. After that, we will go to DDL level 2, a little bit advanced. It may not be required. All the commands may not be required, but we will see them nonetheless. That is it for this session. Thank you.